What's going on, everybody? It's your man, Hunter Grand, your personal agent for change, making life easy, Barzini.
And I'm fempreneur extraordinaire, tech diva all day, Dre Renee.
And this is the Crossroads, where there's only one rule.
Be free to be you.
Yeah,
Woo!
this is a wolf sound moment.
The scramble.
Oh, this. You know what this is? This is part of live programming.
Tell me about it.
It's interesting. I had a friend at a 4th of July function I was talking to yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about podcasting or whatever. And they were going to do a show, but it's just and we've said this before on other shows, like you don't know what you don't know. And if people actually knew what goes into this stuff, yeah, it ain't just turning the camera on, y'all. Because sometimes you try to turn the camera on.
Sometimes the camera don't work.
Because sometimes, and that wasn't even a pun or a segue. I didn't even think about what I was saying until I said it. Yeah. But it ain't just turning the camera on.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You have not lied. You have not lied, sir.
Look, but we made it. But
we's here. So I'm sending up a flare, just so that folks know that we made it. But also you mentioned 4th of July. How was your holiday?
Okay. Story time. Story time. So I actually abbreviated the evening because I was more inebriated early on than I would have liked to be. But it wasn't my fault, right? Like I started questioning.
Did somebody drug you? Oh,
okay. You know what? No, yes, but no. Okay, so this what happened. You get there. I get to my boy CJ crib. That's family and everything else. It's all good. The kids coming, hugging Uncle Jay, blah blah blah, whatever. Right. So
right.
The fellas, we at the table talking shit. Start drinking. I bring a bottle. I was on vodka yesterday, right? Okay. So I'm like, hey, I need a mixer. I mean, I don't really need a mixer, but I need a mixer.
Mm-hmm.
So he pointed to the cooler, some stuff like I never heard of, but I'm with family, so I trust it. He was like, yeah, it's called you ever heard of Cayman Jack?
Mm-mm.
Okay, me either. Until yesterday.
It sounds, is it like rum?
No, I don't know.
You don't know what it is.
It was like these little flavored beverages or whatever, but I thought they were mixers. It's like mango and margarita and strawberry, this or whatever. And I think, it's like in a can, like the size of a Red Bull can, right? Okay. So I'm figuring, crack it open, mix it with my liquor, and go to town. I was on. I was like, what the hell is like? Why am I so like? Why am I feeling this drink so quickly and so hard, right? So we go in the garage for other festivities, and mind you, where we are, it's hot as hell. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
We in the garage sweating like it's do the right thing out there, whatever. And so my nephews bring a couple of drinks. He bring a couple more of them Cayman Jacks for a couple of the fellas. So they sit there and they crack it open and they start drinking it out the can. So I'm like, I go, hey, why are y'all sitting there drinking mixers? Like, why y'all drinking it straight out the can? And they like, cause it's liquor. What are you talking? Like, it's a drink unto itself with liquor already in it.
Put more liquor in there.
And I mixed it with, I'm like, bro, I was like, y'all could have told me that. So I'm in there, listen, I'm all slunched over, like, yeah, I couldn't even do it.
Well, happy 4th. Happy 4th.
Whatever you want to call it. How was yours?
Mine was very relaxing, as a matter of fact. I think we were trying to get it popping and just, checking in with the kids who are now not kids. They already had plans. Yeah, they already had plans. And so we were just like, well, I guess we'll chill. Because we had been traveling and I just got home anyway and hung out with one of my sorors came to town. And so hung out with her and her family. for the past couple of days. And so just yesterday was, a kickback. Went and got some carne asada, hashtag boo, threw it on the grill, chop, 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 made some tacos and
and it
and,
was
and
what it
watch
was.
and watch fireworks on TV. And
You
you
know,
know,
as much as I miss home a lot of times, 4th of July is the time of year where I don't, and I'm so
yeah,
happy to not be there. So, for all of our listeners and watchers and subscribers
right.
that
Hit the button, the bell,
right, and
the
subscribers,
subscribe. Yes, please
yeah,
subscribe.
I know they do it in other areas, but like LA is notorious for fireworks weeks before the 4th of July and months after.
Yeah,
And I'm not exaggerating when I say months. They are popping fireworks well into September.
yeah. So
Like,
Labor Day fireworks.
right. Like they're saving it for, it's like it's done, it's over. And so it's so annoying, and they don't do regular fireworks in LA.
Mm-mm.
M80s, half sticks, they just blowing shit up. You know,
Pretty much.
pretty
Pretty
much
much.
like, and they illegal as hell, but they do it anyway. So where I am, I'm definitely glad. Now I'm sure it goes up in other places out here, but in the area that I am, it's one and done, and it's
Yeah.
not even that term. So
This year was very low key. So
mhm.
I heard a couple, but I would say by 10:30 everything was shut down in my area. I was like,
Got you,
whew,
got you. Yeah, see,
don't miss it. Don't
don't
miss
miss it.
it.
But what we not gonna miss is what keeps this show going.
Right.
So we're gonna get into our sponsors right quick, y'all. So as always, our illustrious sponsor of the house, look at me. See, this is the first time I've ever messed up sponsors, and I never do. I always say
Yeah,
that's
I
my
was like,
biggest
oh,
fear. Like, y'all, I'm sorry. Y'all, the
it's
Crossroads
okay.
Podcast is brought to you by the House of 334.
It's the house.
For all your business branding and copyright needs, go to house of334.com. It is black owned, it is woman owned, it is black woman owned, and it is amazing. And make sure you get to the house quickly because the house fills up fast. Also, the Crossroads Podcast is brought to you by the Crossroads. Y'all, you can go to our Bitly for all of our different links to find out everything that we're doing and tune into everything that we're doing. That's bit.ly/the Crossroads. That's THEXROSSROADZ. Also, if you want to donate, go ahead and click that donation link. We appreciate all those that continue to donate to the show to keep making it happen, y'all. This is a labor of love, but love ain't free. And if you think it is, tell your landlord that you love them. So I haven't yet tried that one yet. They prefer money over I love yous in my
Right.
experience. So also, y'all, please make sure if you're watching this, subscribe now. Just scroll down real quick. You're watching this on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. We're trying to get to a modest goal right now of 500 subscribers. We are very, very close to getting 500, and y'all can help us make that happen. If you watch us normally, we have so many people that watch us on a regular basis but have not subscribed. So if you subscribe and share this link and get other people to subscribe so they can join us on our Roadie and Road Dog journey to eventually 1,000 and everything else, y'all, we will be most appreciative. The views help, the subscriptions help even more. So we really appreciate all your support on that front. And if you want to be a guest,
Tell them also, if you are a first timer or even if you're coming back and you subscribe today, go ahead and put it in the comments so that we can recognize you as a new subscriber because
yeah, we do new subscriber shout outs. Now we don't have new subscribers this week. Y'all, come on, y'all, come on. We want to shout y'all out. We want to publicly thank you for all. And we're gonna have to have some more contests. We've had contests in the past where we've given out products and cash prizes and everything else for our listeners. So we're gonna come up with some more things to get y'all on the road with us and everything else. So
absolutely. Sorry, I interrupted you. I just wanted to make sure to say that.
Oh no, it's all good. I had messed up the flow before we started anyway. Also, if you want to be a guest or you want to submit topics to the show, send us an email at crossroadspodcast@gmail.com. Again, that's XrossroadZ podcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. We had some people submitting some things already. We'll be making some more announcements for your feedback, your input, because this show is for you and we want you to have a
Absolutely.
stake in
All
it.
right.
The
You
streak
did
is ended.
well.
Yeah, I gotta start the streak over.
No, it's all good.
Officially 10 seconds without messing up the sponsors.
It's all good in the hood.
Right. Speaking of hood, there's been a lot happening in the hood this week, I hear.
It has been a lot happening. So I know everyone has come to talk about Essence Fest, and we're absolutely going to do that. But before that, just some things that have kind of passed through the DMs and the emails. Those of you who send us topics, thank you so much to our wonderful EP. Thank you so much. So apparently, Faith Evans finalized her divorce from Stevie J
Mm.
today.
I have
Mm-hmm.
not watched not one episode of reality stuff, but anytime that it comes to love, relationships, and marriage, this dude's name is never favorably spoken.
Never.
So yeah, so I can't really go hard and cape for the dudes too much because one, I don't know, dude. All I know is he's always on the other side of what's good.
Right. Right. And it made me feel a way, and then I had to go, uh-oh, I had to think like you, same energy.
Say
But
it, uh huh.
so as I was reading the article, it talked about him wanting like spousal
Spousal
support.
support. Uh huh.
I was like, what? Thank you. Thank you. That the first thought. Okay. Why is she marrying him? Um, but yeah, the whole thing was weird. So for those of you who happen to not know who Stevie J and Faith Evans are, I don't know. Or maybe you're very young and those names don't ring a bell to you. But if you know P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, Love,
Take
all
that.
the
Take that.
names, take that, right? And Bad Boy in the 90s, Faith Evans, first lady of Bad Boy, was married to the notorious B.I.G. Stevie J
R.I.P.
at the time, RIP. Stevie J at the time was one of the hitmen, which was the in-house production team for Bad Boy. So all of them, friends for decades at this point. Stevie J, notorious playboy, had some kids, went on to be on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. And, we saw him with one of his baby's moms, too, actually. They both wound up being BMs. And after all of that, because Faith watched that too, she got on the show and somehow found herself in a relationship with Stevie all these years later, and then married to him for the past 3 or so years. And as one of our roadies just said, she should have never done that. And it makes me wonder if he married her so that he could be in a position to get some cash. Because I'm like, what was the point of that whole thing? What
Okay,
was the point of
so
that?
but I mean, all right, 3 years is a long time to cash out, but it is what it is. But it begs the question: how do these women keep falling in? Within like it's not.
I don't know.
It's almost like because somebody was saying so. Somebody sent me something
What's the
about.
opposite of WAP? Maybe that's what Stevie got. Stevie got that something.
Hey, that magic stick,
It got some, there you go.
you
There you
know.
go.
So yeah, maybe they. I can't. Okay, it's YouTube. The word that I want to use, matized, but
Mm-hmm.
dematized.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know because it begs itself to the method to the madness, right? Almost like so somebody sent me something with John Legend having a bunch of kids that was comparing them to. It was like, oh, we've
A
been talking
bunch.
about
Doesn't he have like three?
that's four, but they were comparing him.
Oh,
They was trying to compare him to Nick Cannon, right? And there was like, he's married. He had four
yeah.
kids with his wife, and
Right.
then it was a whole bunch of comments about Nick Cannon, in which I feel like we need to stay out of Nick Cannon's bedrooms. Personally, like
Plural. Mm-hmm.
right, because I'm like same energy. If we kept saying don't police women's bodies, stop policing his. You see what I'm
Okay.
saying?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I'm venturing to say, right? I'm
Mm-hmm.
giving these women the benefit of the doubt as far as their intelligence. Not one of them doesn't know at this point who he is and what
Who he
he's
is.
doing.
Right, right.
Like
Right.
it's like you know this man. He's up to what, 11 or something like that now.
Mm-hmm. I believe
Yeah.
so, at least.
So right now it's who's finna be number 12. You see what I'm saying? So once you start getting to the fives and sixes, it's like, and I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure he's not lying about it. He's kind of famous. You see what I'm saying? Like, you can't hide that sort of
Well,
thing.
I'll just say this, not about having babies, but back to, Faith and how she fell in the trap. A lot of women like to think like the buck is going to stop with me, right? Like, okay, he might have done this, but once he gets with
He's going,
me,
y'all.
he's going to change. And maybe, but more times than not. And, as we saw it play out on reality TV anyway, you know, they talked about being friends over the years and how they had, talked to each other about different relationships and this and that. And so I could see maybe if you didn't have all the other things,
Mhm.
how that could happen, right? Like, oh, we've been friends. We never really kind of looked at each other like that, or we've both been through a lot. And so now that we're in our 40s, we've learned different things. But like, Stevie has consistently been Stevie from start to finish. It like there was no type of time in between where I think she could have looked at and said, "Oh, this is change behavior." And he's doing this on national and
Mhm.
probably international television. This
Mhm.
is not just, oh, I
Now,
heard you
now I
you
will
know.
say this. I will say this for Faith, right? Like, okay, with me and you being best friends, you've known.
Mm-hmm. Because I don't know where we're going, but okay. Uh-huh.
Okay, so, but what I'm saying, a version of me that the women that you've seen come and go don't know, right?
Okay. Yes.
Now, you know what's said about me, you know what's been said about me, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so sometimes and you've actually chimed in, especially on social media, when women think that they know me, or like blah 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 blah, and you're coming, actually, it's he's not this. He's not,
And
you know
why
what
do
I'm
I do that? I should just let these people be. I should let them be. But
saying? Right.
yes, here I come
So
with my cape.
yeah, it's possibly perhaps the version of Stevie that Faith fell for was that version that she knows privately and has known for
Mm-hmm.
years, because like the producer personality, the celebrity personality, the TV personality, I would hope is much different than just the everyday person,
Right.
you know. But so what's to say? I really think she thought that she would gain cultural relevancy, capitalize on reality TV thing. But he's clearly a real life minute. So I mean, he's a. I don't know
He's
that
a
he's a
real life
real life.
menace. I'm with you, sis. I I think I felt, I mean, outside of it just being weird, I
Mhm.
think I wanted it to work, right? Because I'm just like, at every turn, I'm like, he couldn't have done, he didn't, yes, he did. Oh God, he did. Right. So I was like, okay, Faith is, yeah, but she presents herself as a mature woman. Like she's not going to be slugging it out with Jocelyn on, well, I didn't think so.
I've
Slugging it
seen.
out with
Listen, no,
Jocelyn on,
you need to watch more interviews, Faith, about that life.
No, I'm not saying that she wouldn't. I mean, well, I guess I did say she would.
Yeah.
I didn't think, I thought if it was necessary, because I feel like we all have it in us, right? But you don't generally see Faith going back. Even in this situation, she hasn't, done a whole lot in the media about Stevie J. She said, yes, we're together. This is how we're doing it. When him and Mimi was going back and forth and calling each other all kind of bees and all whatever, she just sat there like, my God, right? Like she didn't get into it. So I felt like, okay, he's not gonna be with somebody with all this rah-rah like he has been. Perhaps this will work out. perhaps he'll calm down as well. But it's been a gnaw. And so, happy Freedom Day to both of you. I'm assuming this is what you wanted, and so God bless. It's over. That's all I got for that one.
Hey,
Yeah.
I just got to see how that spousal support about to work out.
Yeah.
Because you know me and same energy. I'm like,
I
know.
know.
So what else is happening in the world of mess?
Yes. Okay. So those of us who grew up in LA, and now you don't even have to be in LA because
They syndicated.
the show is syndicated. But Steve Harvey Morning Show and his co-host Shirley Strawberry, formerly Shirley Clark. I remember when she was still Shirley Clark. But
we go way back.
Yeah. But now Shirley Strawberry, and I think she probably should be Shirley something else, right? Because this guy's.
But the Strawberry letter ain't gonna have the same.
That's true. That's true. She had to keep Mr. Strawberry's name. Okay, so those of you who listen to the morning show know that she will read a letter where people talk about their personal issues and ask for advice. And so at this point, Shirley has found herself in a position where her current husband is being charged not only with like some fraud stuff, but upon the IRS going to see, confiscating his computers and electronics to find out what was going on with the fraud, they found I like the other lady, Child P. We're not even gonna do our
some
so they found some Child P. To the tune of he can have up to 200 charges because they will charge you per video or photo. So that's quite a bit of information, if you will, to be found. And there are some mistresses involved in some sort of dating fraud scheme, right? So he's a part of finding you on Tinder or Bumble or Match or wherever you are, Black, wherever,
be okay.
Asking you for money. Yeah, be okay. Asking you for money and then ghosting. And so money to help, invest in a business and these types of things, and then, go on to the next woman. The children might allegedly, let's go with that, allegedly, could have something to do with this. And then even Shirley herself is trying to make sure that she can maintain contact with him, which is making those that are looking at the situation feel like, okay, something's wrong with that. If your husband is being charged with or is in possession of these types of images of children, why do you want anything to do with him? So that's what's going on in the streets. It's hit the interwebs. I saw it last night and then again today. And, I think the first thing people will say is like, there's absolutely no way that you couldn't know. But think about how many things you find out that somebody has. Yeah, I was just like, when you get cheated on, did you know?
But
no, you didn't know.
That's as easy as a password. Like
exactly. I'm just like, don't, or maybe they're talking about the fraud part and not necessarily the child part. But either, if you're dealing with a con artist, then really their job is to hide the information that they don't want you
and
to
she
know.
could be a mark for all we know.
You know part.
So yeah, it's people is put them in double prison,
not just one.
Yeah,
two times for your mind.
He got 2 gates. But no, it's easy again for people on the sidelines. Like, yeah, we all have our opinions, we all have our outlooks and stuff like that, but to not know the inner workings or what's going on, or somebody framing him or whatever, um because stranger things have happened. Like, hell, that's why they tell you to protect your networks and stuff like that and not leave it open, because people can drive by and drop, you know, material on your computers, on your network and everything else. Not saying that
Mhm.
that's what happened, but I'm saying, like, there's so many different variables to these lives,
Right.
behind the scenes, and it's easy for us on the internet to believe everything we see and hear just because it's said. Because it reminds me of that commercial. I forgot what it was. I think it might have been an insurance commercial or something, where the guy was like, this woman said, "Oh, well, you can't do da 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 da," and she was like, "It's on the internet," you know, and it was like it has to be true because it's on the internet.
Mhm.
And when a lot of this information, like, I've seen people like report stuff, and they're not even like the site that they're it's a satirical site, and they're not even paying attention to the site that they're posting. You know, the
Right.
Onion and all this other stuff.
Mhm.
I mean, it could be thisainttrue.com and they'll still,
They'll post it.
oh, look, you know what I'm saying?
That's
So,
hilarious.
or people will use things like Wikipedia as a source, and like literally anybody, like, for those who don't know, Wikipedia is not an official source, and anybody can go on Wikipedia and post or
Mhm.
change
And change.
information. you
That's
know
true. That's true.
so yeah, it's very, you have to be careful, one, especially when you are a celebrity and you're known, who you merge your life with. And I don't think anybody purposely merges their life with somebody that's scandalous, but it's also the same thing that we operate in such a salacious space as the internet, um where sites like, let's say, TMZ, right? They may have, Jeff. I'm not sure. So educate me if they have.
Mhm.
But it's not things today, because information moves so fast and there's so many information outlets. It's not about facts, it's about firsts, right? And so that's why TMZ is what it is today. You know, if you go back to 2009, TMZ has the reputation they do now because they broke the Michael Jackson story. So they went just from being a TV show, tabloid type situation, to where they broke this real story first.
Mhm.
And then now, when something happens,
People go to TMZ.
people go to TMZ. You know, they
Mhm.
broke the Kobe story, but like, there's no moral barometer, or compass for them, because things like breaking the Kobe story, Vanessa didn't even know. You see what I'm saying? Like, she found out on TMZ. And so, instead of the courtesy of waiting so she could get the call about her husband and her daughter and those other families, it's all over the internet before she even knows. And so things like that become crazy, and they abandon morality to be first, because it's
Mhm.
it's about like who breaks the story first. In the sports world, you got Adrian Wojnarowski, who's like the man when it comes to breaking news in the NBA, right? Because I think going back to 2019, I want to say 2018, 2019, when Kawhi Leonard was a free agent, right? And everybody was wondering who was going where. Woj, I mean, he goes by Woj now, but he was breaking all these trades and all these free agents and stuff like that. And he was first on everything, everything. And so now when news breaks, people go to his Instagram or his page to find out if he said it. Because if Woj didn't say it, it's like, nah, I'm gonna wait till Woj say it because I trust Woj, right?
Mhm.
So when we see things like this, like, I mean, it's quite possible dude did all of this, but we don't necessarily wait until everything comes out in the wash. We always assume, because there's so much information, true or not, because there's so much, we have to believe it.
Right. Right. Well, best of luck to Shirley. I'll just stop there. assuming you don't know and you don't have anything to do with it. That's just a horrible position to be put in. Um, this is something that's just like the lowest of the low, in my opinion. To mess with children, but anything that can blindside you like that, that causes you to go from being in covenant and being one with somebody to having to look at them like, who are you? That has to be devastating. And
Mhm.
so,
And
I
what
hope
do
the best
you?
for their
Yeah,
family.
yeah. Because here's the question, right? This is her husband,
Yeah.
and what do you do? Let's say like this information comes out, and he's telling you, "I didn't do this. I'm, I'm being said whatever." Right? This is the person you lay down with and wake up with every day.
Mm-hmm.
This is the person who you have vowed to be with through better or for worse.
Yep.
Right? And so when a lot of people are like, "Oh, how could you?" Like it's I think things like that are easy to say
Until
that
you in it.
until
Yeah.
that worst part.
Yeah.
And it don't get no more worse.
No worse. But also, like, I just feel like the person that you're with.
But do you?
Yes, you do. Like, there's nobody that could make me believe that you had no child pee on your computer. Now, if it came out that, but I'm not, when I hear about it, my first inclination is not that you did it. You told me I'm being framed, I'm being set up, everything about you and your character for 20 plus years would have me go, okay, maybe something's not right about that, right?
Mhm.
If the facts come out, I'm not an idiot. The facts come out and it is proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that, that's not the case, then we deal with that when we get there. But I think a lot of times there are marriages or relationships where you see stuff, you might not see that, but you
Mhm.
see things about people's character, and you dismiss it, you brush it off, you are thinking better or worse, like, okay, I'm gonna hang in or whatever. It doesn't make it right, like I said, for anybody to be blindsided in that way. But I think I have an understanding now, that I probably never had before, of really knowing and trusting somebody to the point where yeah, you're showing up in court every day to help them beat some sort of murder charge or a domestic violence, or something crazy like that, because it's like, this isn't the person that I know. This isn't, for X amount of years. I've never seen this. Again, just because you've never seen it doesn't mean that it doesn't happen, but I understand how you get there. And like you mentioned, everyone wants to say the words, but living them out is a totally different thing. We did a episode or a live just a couple of months ago, if even that long, about Jonathan Majors allegedly beating on this lady. And here we are a couple of weeks later, and the whole thing is like, oh, it was a mistake. Let's go arrest this lady instead. Like,
And
excuse me?
right, but the crazy part is he was being crucified. He's done lost
And
millions, and you
exactly.
know,
So I think when we hear things, especially bad things, it's just like, stone them, put them under the
right, burn him
jail,
at the stake. Yeah.
right? And anybody that does this deserves that. But what if this person didn't do? Like, we don't leave room for what if they really didn't do it. So all that to say, I don't know Ernesto, or Ernest, or
Ernest.
whatever his name is. I don't know him to say what his character is. I hope that this is not true, but I'm saying, if they have already put out that they found this on his computer, unless again somebody hacked in and did some type of alakazam,
Mhm.
that looks like what it is. And again, for Shirley and their families, children, parents, anybody that's connected to something like that, I really feel bad, because people are going to ask you about the character of somebody else, like, well, how could he do that? And you're like, i don't
I don't know. Like
I don't know. But Those are the kind of questions that they're gonna be faced with.
Yeah, stranger things have happened, and I've seen things come out about people who I thought I knew, and
That's what I'm saying. I'm just
yeah.
like you. I can't think. Let me also say I can't think of, and if we know somebody in common, maybe you can put it in the chat. But I can't think of anybody that I've heard something about, and I have been like so surprised. It's probably like, okay, I wouldn't have put it on you, but now that it's on you, that's let me just. I ain't been that surprised about nobody. So
I mean, I've seen people that's talking about other people and I'm like, you should probably be quiet because
yeah,
it's a lot of people throwing stones in glass houses out there. And the best I can say is y'all just make sure it ain't you.
Yeah.
It's so and my thing is I'm even I don't know if I'm slow to throw stones when I find out, but like I might skip it like you're trying to skip in the pond. But like it's you never know when something can be you, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Because I think I've died twice.
Oh,
I'm not sure. Once for sure. You remember I died coming from Arizona.
Yeah, I don't remember twice. So
yeah, well, for sure I died for sure once. And I'm not talking literally. I'm saying there was a rumor going around that myself and some friends were in a bad car accident and we died, and my phone is blowing up. People are trying to call and see if I'm still alive. I'm not answering because it's like 2 a.m. and I was asleep. So it was like a whole big thing. And while I appreciate the love and concern that everybody had, it was it was cousin, I'm still here. You're watching this.
God bless. God bless.
I love my family.
He's just like, what?
It wasn't true.
It wasn't true. Well, I know this is the moment that everybody's been waiting on, and we're gonna, spend the rest of our time really talking about Essence. The Essence Fest was this past weekend, as it is every 4th of July weekend, and so I tuned in from the house. I was I was in LA when it started, and then I was back home by the time it ended. But shout out to Hulu, who does a live broadcasting of the concerts each night. So Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night.
Was this the first year they did that, or they've done it before?
They did it last year.
Okay.
They did it last year. So headliners. Let me just start there. Okay. So this is the 50th year of hip hop, as many of us know, if not all of us. And so and actually not even just all of the award shows and festivals, but like everything is cashing in on hip hop in this 50th year. Like I went to the store and saw that there was some sort of hip hop Sprite. Mm-hmm. I was just like, this is ridiculous. It was like celebrated 50 years of hip hop. This strawberry lemonade type Sprite or something, and it had like turntables and all kind of stuff on it. So as we know, hip hop culture has just become the culture, right? Like everybody wants a piece of it. Everyone wants to be aligned with it. But 50 years ago, probably even 30 years ago, for many, hip hop was trash. Get this garbage off the radio. And now you have Lauryn Hill headline Friday night, still touring, still popular, still relevant off of one solo album that she can't even perform the same way ever again.
Let's be clear, that album,
Oh no, I'm not saying nothing, but I'm
no, I'm not saying
saying,
I'm right.
imagine one that
Yeah.
is so great that
Mhm.
for the rest of your life you can just do these songs, and the arrangements will be different, but
Mhm.
the songs. And Wyclef came out and did a few little Fugees,
Right. And
not a few little, that's
for
not
our
much, but a
listen
few
for
Fugees
the
songs.
for the listeners, one, if you're into hip hop and R&B for that matter at all, and you are too young to understand the relevance of the miseducation of Lauryn Hill, I need you to take an hour and a half of your life, just sit, just sit and listen to that album beginning to end. Because I remember my kids listening to Drake's song that sampled X Factor, and they had no idea that.
And by his kids, he means students, because he don't have no kids. Just in case, because that's how rumors get started.
That's true. That's true. But I love them like my kids. I just get to send them
Hmm.
home at 4 o'clock.
Right.
Um, but yeah, they had no idea. So I actually played X Factor for them, and they were like, "Hey, that's from the Drake song." They said, "I was
Yeah.
like, oh,
And we had the same experiences in the 90s where our parents was like, that was done in the 70s or the 60s. So
and we didn't
everything
care."
that is old becomes new
Comes new.
again. Well, I will say a lot of the 90s samples did a lot of justice to those 70 songs because it made us go back and listen.
Listen to it.
So I'm hoping that what's being done now will cause folks to want to go back and listen to things from the 90s and the
Yeah.
early 2000s, but who
Hopefully.
knows. Anywho, Lauryn Hill was the headliner that night.
Was she on time?
But I don't think so. But again, my vantage point, because I was on the West Coast, it was fine for me because, but I'm thinking where they were, maybe not.
uh,
I did see somebody. I think somebody on Twitter says she showed up at 2 o'clock, but I don't think so. I don't think she could have showed up at 2 Central Time because the stream was done by 2 Central
mhm.
Time. So I don't think that was
I think I saw
factual.
somewhere
She
somebody said
probably was late.
the host left or something. Who was hosting that night?
Dion Cole, I
Okay.
believe.
Yeah, I think I heard he left. He was like, I was contracted from this time to this time.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm quite sure she was not on time, but I think the extreme that was posted might not
Mhm.
necessarily be the truth. But I will say, whatever time those people waited for, she did an excellent show. I was glad to see her, of course, singing along to all the songs. That night also kicked off the 50th anniversary of hip hop. So a lot of, East Coast rappers. You had Big Daddy K, EPMD,
Mm,
Slick Rick,
mm,
KRS-One, Dougie Fresh, right? So that's
mhm,
their moment to talk about where hip hop originated and so on and
mhm,
so forth. Shout out to the East Coast. Now I didn't watch all of the performances that night because I actually forgot that it has started streaming on Friday. I thought it started on Saturday for whatever reason. But when I tuned in, Janelle Monáe was getting on the stage.
mhm,
Okay, so I didn't even recognize, like, I had no idea who she was. So she was
mhm,
already on or coming on or whatever. And I was like, who is
mhm,
that? Totally didn't recognize her. I wouldn't call myself a fan, so I had to like go educate myself on what she's been doing lately. But I was like, she doesn't look like the same
mhm,
person that I remember. The standout to her performance, which I was very underwhelmed by, but also I'm not a fan, so I could have missed it. And what people obviously were talking about. So she had this little bralette. That's the best
mhm,
way that I could describe it. So her boobs were already kind of peeking out of the bottom anyway, which I understand is kind of her new thing,
mhm,
if you will. But at a point, she just kind of did it. Well, I wouldn't say do a Janet because Janet was actually surprised by hers, but
mhm,
sis just kind of lifted her top. I think she had like a pasty or something on or whatever, but there were people that were turned off by that. So that was, kind of one of the ratchet moments, if you will, that started to gain steam on the internet. Saturday night was popping. That was like my favorite night, as far as I'm concerned. Headlined by Missy Elliott. It was her birthday, or the first was her. By the time she got on stage, I don't think it was her birthday anymore, but it was her birthday. And we all love Missy Elliott. She really can't do anything wrong. She could have just stood there the whole night, and people probably just would have screamed. But she literally put on one of the best shows. I was really mad that I wasn't there, but one of the best shows in production wise that I think I've ever seen. And so, yeah, if she ever swings my way or gets close, I'm on it. That night, so right before her was Jill Scott, who I just actually saw live. She's on tour right now performing. Who is Jill Scott? Words and Sounds Volume 1. So again, if you're too young, go on to Tidal or Spotify or something, and that's also
I actually had an advanced copy of that album before she had come out, because I had a friend that worked for the label.
I almost had a friend at Hidden Beach too. I think
it might have been the same friend. So shout out to Kiana. So she had given me the album. She was like, "What you think about this artist?" Because this was before like the whole soul movement, right?
Yeah, it was at the very beginning.
Yeah, it was at the very beginning. So I had it, and I was like. And then she became Jill Scott. Yeah. So
yeah. I was telling hashtag boo. We were at the concert. I was like, the first time I heard Getting in the Way and You Better Back Down Before You Get Smacked Down, I was like, this is my spirit. I loved it because I was still in my smacking days. So I was off. I was like, I've never heard somebody sing about beating somebody down so beautifully. Yeah. I'm with it. And
you're almost not offended by it.
Almost not offended, but again, a piece of artistry that you can play from start to finish, and she's performing it that way. So we actually got to hear it from start to finish, interludes, include like all of that. Live music,
she sniffed.
All of that. And people were yelling,
that was
bar for bar. Everybody, was with
Raheem, right?
Yes, right. So. She did that. So she did, a portion of that. And then, of course, added some of the things that everybody wants to hear, golden and blah, blah, blah. So she did great. I think Monica was on that night. So she did great. And as Monica will do, okay, she was in New Orleans and she had to shout out all her people from New Orleans. So actually BG had, called in and all this kind of stuff. And she did a tribute to Soulja Slim. Like Monica is always Monica. The South and the West Coast had features during the evening as well. Somebody else, my parents played Jill Scott's album every time we went out of town, and I loved it every time. Yeah, she's just that album hit, no miss. So Jermaine Dupri curated a set. The South's Got Something to Say, I think is what it was called. And then Ice Cube and DJ Quick, Yo-Yo, Lady of Rage. I feel like I'm gonna miss somebody. JJ Fad, Ice-T and E40 were represented for the West Coast. So you had that. And then the South was Big Boy, Gucci, Luda, T.I., and JD himself. Oh, and Lil Jon. Lots of energy. Cool.
Of course. Yeah.
So as I mentioned, Saturday night was my favorite night. Then Sunday rolled around. Again, I had other things to do, so I missed it. But that evening, Angie Martinez had curated a set for the ladies in hip hop. So Eve, Mia X, Remy Ma, Salt and Pepper, plus Spin, and Trina.
Wait, Spin was there?
Spin was there. Shout out to my Source Spin. Yeah, I was so happy to see that, because I was like, even if they haven't necessarily buried the hatchet, they should be celebrated together and be able to come together for these kinds of moments. Like nobody wants I'm gonna say it. Nobody wants to see you guys separately, right? Like if one shows up without the two, or two show up without the one, we're gonna be like, where's right? So just do your thing together. So they did. WizKid was kind of the undercard, if you will, right before the headliner, and I was underwhelmed by him too. Again, somebody that I didn't recognize by what I was hearing initially. Like I had to wait a minute, and then I was like, "Oh, I know some of these songs," but the performance was not hot, in my opinion. And then to close out the entire was Megan Thee Stallion. And so this is where people really were either super excited or super disappointed. Let me start by saying I don't know Meg. Like I know Savage because you couldn't turn on the radio without it. I think like her first song, and now I can't even think of it, but if I hear it, I know it. And then Body Yaddy Yaddy, of course, So it's like a couple of songs, but I couldn't tell you anything about. So I was watching, so I'm like, let me see about Sis, right? The Baby Fruit Punch is pretty good. Okay, well, I'll go look it up. But I'm like, let me see, what's going on with Meg, especially all the things that she's gone through this year and last year and all the years. And so as a performance, I thought she was off the chain with that. She looked good, high energy, she was spitting. It wasn't no ABC mumble rap. And so, even if somebody else wrote it, she learned how to perform it. I don't know if she writes her own raps or not. I'm not upset either way. Thought it was great. There was a portion where she called ladies on the stage, like, all the hotties on the stage to twerk, like 3 full twerk sessions. So group of people, drop it low, twerk, 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 twerk for 30 seconds to a minute, clear the stage, called some more people up, did it again. I was actually shocked that it happened. Now I'm like, I'm watching Hulu. This is cable, so I guess it's fine. But I was like, I was more surprised that she stopped her set for this. I'm like, you sharing your shine with people shaking their tails on the okay. But I also don't know if this is a part of her regular show. Like this might be something that she always does. So somebody that's a Meg fan, let me know if this is like usual. So I was just like, oh, but I will say what I thought of and what I was reminded of, which will take us into the conversation, was like, oh, this is Lil' Kim. Like, I remember the first time I heard hardcore. And I was like, oh my God. But it was like, you played it, I played it. I listened to it. I know the lyrics.
You didn't play it. You looked first.
Oh, well, like this. I played it like this.
Yeah.
Okay. But nothing in me, even though I was like, okay, I do feel a different way at this age or whatever. I remember when it was exciting or when it was like taboo and like, oh yeah, we're not supposed to listen to this, but we're listening to it. Empowerment, if you will, even though I wasn't doing any of the things that she was talking about, but it was just like, that whole bravado. And so that part of me was like, well, maybe that's what these, kids are feeling when they hear Meg, because outside of like saying it in mixed company, it's not like this is the first time that these things have been said. And so I feel like that's what people are more outraged about, right? Like not that it's being done, but that it's not being covered up and it's being celebrated and it's on this big stage. And like she was the closing headliner. That's a pretty big deal to have people, popping it with their butts out. Like I have on shorts, but once I drop down, now they turn into panties, and twerk, 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 where we could see all up in your business. And folks is just having a good time, but also folks not necessarily having a good time. So Jeff said I photographed her show 4 years ago, and she brought people on stage to have shots of liquor with her. Yeah, she seemed very personable. Like she was taking selfies with the folks. Hey
Mhm.
friend, hey, seemed very kind. But that's what the folks are saying. So, Gen X, how do you feel knowing that the
um,
kids are twerking down to the essence that used to be like Frankie Beverly and Maze
right,
used
right.
to
It's
close it
so
out.
like this is it's just going into the respectability politics conversation, right? And this is just something that I have to deal with a lot professionally and otherwise. So I'm kind of mixed on it. Like, while Meg, beautiful as she is, her brand is not necessarily my cup of tea, and
Mhm.
that's not a shot at her. That's just not what I listen to, right?
Yeah, yeah.
As an artist. But I think I am of the time or place type thought process, but not the way people think, right? So I'm gonna segue just a little bit and then come back.
Okay.
So if I go to like the whole Lizzo thing, not a fan of Lizzo, right? Um, she's very
What
talented,
generation are you, Jeff? Are you a
millennial.
millennial?
Millennial.
Okay. You're a millennial. Okay. Go
Um,
ahead.
so it's when you, especially like the whole, so Lizzo would do stuff and people would talk about what she did, and then she comes on the internet crying about it. It's like, lady, you did it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't
Mhm.
do things and expect people not to respond. You see what I'm saying? Or
Okay.
have opinions about it. And so I did have a problem with her at the Laker game, double cheeked out, because and then twerking on the jumbotron, right? I don't feel that particular venue called for that, right?
Mhm.
Now, because we know who you are, that is actually your brand, and shaking ass and blah 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 during your shows. If I buy a ticket to a Lizzo show, I do not have any room to be offended by anything Lizzo does on that stage.
Mhm.
That is what she does, right? And if I didn't know what she does, that's on me, right?
Okay.
Now, you out like, I didn't pay to see that. I'm trying to see the game, and they were like, "Hey, there's Lizzo in the crowd. Hey, everybody!" And then she turned around and just got her ass out
Cheeks.
for the
Cheeks.
world.
Cheeks.
She,
Cheeks.
so I think there is a difference between the stage and just like everyday life as well. But then I think there's certain nuances to that too. So the respectability politics, the thing is, we're the only culture that's having this conversation, and we're the only culture that has to, well, you can't do this and you can't do that. Like, white folk aren't having this conversation. And when we talk about being appropriate, we have to ask ourselves, what does that mean and who sets that criteria, right?
Right.
And when we talk appropriate, we are always talking about white standards. When we say professionalism, we are talking about white standards. When we say dress appropriate, white standards, right? And so, or hair, right? Because there was a
Mhm.
time, the way your hair is right now, you would not be able to wear your hair like that to work.
Nope. Shout out
You
to
see
the
what I'm
Crown
saying?
Act,
Right.
which we also
So,
celebrated this week. Go ahead.
yeah. So the fact that we have to fight to be who we are, and this is why I don't have a problem with it, with what Meg did and people twerking and everything else, right? You want to, it's only shamed when we do it, right? But when you got Miley Cyrus on stage twerking on, who was that she was twerking on? I forgot, and bent over on network TV. You know what I'm saying? This wasn't even
Mhm.
streaming. You know what I'm saying? Ah, when you got these white girls that start teaching twerk classes and making six figures, right? But when
Mhm.
black women do it, it's ratchet. Like, we don't. I've never seen this called white girls ratchet when they twerking,
Mhm.
right? We either laughing about it, or if they can halfway
But
do it
who
well,
calling who ratchet?
huh?
Generally is black people. Like
No, that's what I'm
black
saying.
people.
No,
Oh, okay, okay. I was like,
black
white
people
people
too,
don't call.
but they do. But see, and then we have to figure out, like, there are people that start narratives that we pick up, because remember, on the internet you can be anybody, right?
Mhm.
So who's starting these conversations? But all I know, black people are otherwise. We always get on black people saying don't do this. But if a white girl is out there and she popping and she, okay, I see you, white girl. Okay.
You're invited to the cookout.
Exactly. So anytime a white person does something remotely similar or as well as a black person, they're praised for doing it like us. But then when we do, it's don't, huh? You see what I'm saying? Like, and if you even think about it, it's spanning even beyond twerking. Like when you think R&B, there are no true R&B, especially men like singers. Like outside of Tank, who is there out there right now? R&B. You see what I'm saying? But
Lucky Day, apparently.
Right. But you got all these soulful sounding white dudes all over the internet that's getting mad followers. Like so the thing is, the blacker you can do something, the more you're praised for it, unless you're black.
You're black. Yeah, that's it.
You know, that's crazy to me. So it's like we always find ourselves trying to, and especially as a culture, we get so mad at assimilation. But why are we always trying to assimilate for acceptance? So we gotta pick a struggle. Either and I get there's certain things that you have to do to get invited to certain tables to be able to build. I get it. But where's the line? Where's the freedom? Where's the freedom of expression? Because twerking, there's folk over in Africa and they popping it. I've seen it in Indian culture and in some Muslim cultures. We don't call them ratchet, you know. Like the movement in the field is actually from the motherland. Right now, granted, we might be doing it to WAP, but you know, I get it. But it's like at some point we have to stop trying to impress and be worried about what white people are saying about us. Now, the flip side, I do understand that what we present is what they think, and what they think is how they treat. So I get it. There is that component. So I won't be hypocritical and say you know, but I want to be free from that. I want us to be free from having to worry about what they think. And for them, it's like, allow us to be us and understand that we're still people and we have our own expressions the same way you do, you know, because they'll get on the stage and bite the head off of a goddamn pigeon and pour blood, or damn mosh pits, and they calling us by you know, like it's literally your culture walking around punching each other, you know, when they call us animals. But I
have two images that I want to share, and they're actually images of words, just so we can see some of the conversation that's been going on out there. So the topic today that's really gotten people's attention is India Ari's comment under one of Essence's posts from the weekend. So of course they had various clips, and so this particular one was I can't remember it was something to the effect of like twerk school is in session or something like that. So it was definitely about that moment in Essence Fest. And so India Ari says the issue is, what is context? Humanity does everything, but does everything belong? I believe it should be on a stage. No. Is everything for kids? No. Is everything for everybody? No. So when we as a culture make something like this mainstream, it shows a lack of discretion and discernment. To those in the comments who laugh at anyone who wants these things for our culture, you certainly have that right. Just as many folks have the right to want our mainstream international export, our music, to show us in a respectful light. I like to go on the record saying this won't age well, and that's my issue. I love Janelle and Meg the way I love us all, and I don't like this moment. Don't bother debating me. LOL. I don't care. And I do this. For 25 years, I've done this. So read, ponder, or don't. This was a tweet that I pulled. So it was generally, talking about the target audience. And I was having this conversation the other day, right? Like Essence was our mother and grandmother's magazine back then, right? So I'm now that age. I didn't read Essence growing up. Like, if we picked up anything, we probably picked up Ebony because that was in the beauty salon. But like, I don't remember being a Essence. Like the way people talk about it now, I'm like, you didn't grow up on Essence. Like you saw it, but as kids, that's not what we were reading. It was Jet
Mhm.
and it was Ebony, right?
I went
Um,
listen. I would pick up Jet just to go to page 43.
well,
So
we know, yeah, we know why little boys is looking through Jet. But so now it's like, yeah, Essence has always been, kind of this older brand, if you will. But those people have now, according to folks on the internet, have aged out, right? And
Mhm.
so it's almost like you need to go find something else to do, or you need to understand that this is what's happening. So someone here, Courtney Hendricks, I'd like to imagine India said what a lot of 40 plus women are thinking out loud. Ironically, isn't that the audience of that festival? I don't know. Don't attack me, just my thoughts. I know that's a real sensitive subject on here because that's definitely what I thought. I'm like, Essence is for the olders, right? And so the neighborhood publicist responded, no, the target audience has always been 30 to 44. Oh, shout out, I'm still in there. 30 to 44. The original audience just doesn't want to accept that they aged out of the target audience, and the new one grew up in a world dominated by hip hop. Now, again, this was the 50th year of hip hop, and I think a lot was governed by that. I
Mhm.
don't know. Last year, this wasn't a thing. I don't know if next year this will be a thing. So I think, understanding that this whole weekend was hip hop driven, well, at least the performances, that might be helpful for
Mhm.
some. But let's just say this is the new normal,
Mhm.
right? NDRE says, no, ma'am, absolutely, absolutely not. We need to be respected and present ourselves in a respectable manner. And I thought about this again just when I knew we were going to talk about it, and I was like, okay, yes, there are things that at 40 plus, um, I no longer like or listen to or move by in the same way. Um, but that's just how I feel about it.
Mhm.
And then I go on. I do leave room for the fact that it appeals, and I'm not talking about necessarily Meg, but anything.
Mhm.
It appeals to somebody because that's why these people are famous in the first place. Um, so can we just, to your point, if you know on night 3 that Meg the Stallion is closing and that's not your cup of tea, are you just not going to night 3, or you go to night 3 and right before she gets on stage, you go to Cafe Du Monde and get
Mhm.
your beignets? Like, is there an opportunity to do that so that those that are there to see her can enjoy? I will say overall, unless the microphones were just off, like the sound, it didn't look like anybody until Missy. I definitely saw people up and partying with her and Meg, but you couldn't hear
Mhm. Right, right. Mhm.
anything. Yeah, I was like, are these people alive? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
What is
Yeah,
going
and I don't know. Like people, I think are a bit obtuse when it comes to things like that because NDRE specifically, and I sent you some things in your inbox. Like
on? Mm-hmm.
NDRE came out, super earthy and
I
uh,
am not my voice.
beeswax and unks, and oh, I'm not my hair, and sometimes I shave my legs, sometimes like all this other stuff, and then completely changed her image,
Let me
right?
see if I can show the people.
Yeah. So you
I
went
didn't know
from
she had changed her image, so that was a
ah
first for me. I was
yeah,
like,
and
I
and
haven't
you
seen her in
and
so long.
and her ass started shaving them legs too because she got them out. You know what I'm saying? And so you are right. And so even when go
Oh,
back to
there you go.
yeah,
Oh, she got boobs and legs out. That's a nice
yeah,
dress. Huh?
yeah, And so
Oh yeah, and that's how she started.
that's how she started, and then she
Hmm.
went to the black
She was
dress.
like,
But
ba ba
then
boom.
go to the side by side picture real quick again. So she was getting a lot of flack because
She
this
looked
the
lighter.
right. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know how much say so she had, and I don't think she was purposely trying to do it. I'll give her the benefit of the doubt there, but it's released, and you have or they have or whomever has lightened their skin, It's a more provocative look. The dress has gotten significantly shorter. you know,
Mhm. I wouldn't have
um,
recognized that to be her without this side
exactly.
by
And
side.
so it's completely contrary of the image that she portrayed and the music that she created, right?
Mhm.
And so while no, she may not have, her boobs out like Janelle Monáe, who's done a transformation as well, but it was also, if you've seen like some of her interviews and stuff like that, it's also an evolution. Like Janelle Monáe personally stopped trying to play a role that everybody was trying to fit her in. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And so even the name of this album was called The Age of Pleasure, right? So um Twitter went crazy when she was doing a show and she, flashed the crowd and all this other stuff. Like she's in
So she's
this.
saying she wanted to come out this way, but they told her she had to be wearing the suits and be quirky and look like
Well,
a
I
little
don't know what
prince.
they told her. I'm just saying that's how she came out. You know what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
this may be who she's always been for all we know. But
Yeah.
for the purposes of her early career, hey, I'm doing this. That may not be
Like
where.
Pink. Pink
Yeah,
did us wrong.
yeah.
Pink
So
came out as R&B and then was like, F y'all. I'm going over here. I'm
right.
gonna be a rock star.
Yeah, but people
Oh,
often go where the money goes, right? So it's like even with NDRE, what was behind or the context, as you said in your tweet or whatever, of your transformation of your image,
mm,
and so a lot of people looked at her and was like, oh well, why you got to start doing this when this is what you were, you know if you're not your hair, if you're not your clothes, then why did you change them? You see what I'm saying?
mhm.
So in essence, for me, it's a bit hypocritical. And then I also hate when people, you want to throw things that are inflammatory and then say, oh well, don't debate me, like don't come from. I really hate I said what I said type people, because when you put
Mhm.
it out there, people are going to respond. Oh, I'm just saying this. Don't like shut up. Then don't say it. Then if you don't want people to respond, if you don't, you don't have to go back and forth. But it's like, it is what it is. So
Yeah.
I think we pick and choose um or we have selective outrage, and we kind of forget who what we've done and who we were and everything else.
Yeah.
um and when we were young, like we looked up to some of these images. Like now I wouldn't listen to, or I don't relate to the Chronic. But when the Chronic
Mhm.
came out, bees ain't but
Yeah.
you
All
see
of
what I'm
that.
saying? Like,
All of that.
I'm talking about AMG. I'm talking about
Yeah.
even JJ Quick. It ain't nothing like on my
Yeah.
word
Yeah.
to that motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Like, B better have my money. Like, come on.
If that come on today, folks is breaking their necks to get to the
Exactly.
dance floor. Yeah.
Anything about Sugar Free, why Sugar Free, and Sugar Free has some like,
Yeah, man.
jump in the air, stay there until I tell you to come down. And when you do, you shut the fuck up. Like,
Yeah.
there were horrible things that we listened to that would now it's like, oh, wait a minute,
Hmm. Do
people
you
had
think it was different because we had radio edits and now radio edits don't seem to
we
exist?
didn't listen to the radio edit. Like,
Well,
we listened.
that was what was on the radio. So you might have had the CD, but
Yeah.
in terms of mainstream, those types of things, like if you understood the wordplay or the metaphors or whatever, you
Mhm.
might have gotten it. But a lot of things we could listen to still in a family setting, if you will, and it not be
But we don't.
offensive.
But we don't have that anymore. So the thing
That's
is,
what I'm
again,
saying. Do you
yeah.
think it's different because
No, I don't.
radio
I
edits
don't.
don't exist?
Well, I don't, because again, it's only black people are held to this standard, right? Because also when we were young and you're sitting there watching network TV, if you heard damn, you were like, or hell, right?
Yeah.
Now they're saying shit, and like they're pretty much saying everything but the F word.
Everything.
You see
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Pretty much.
We've seen
Pretty much.
nudity on network TV. Like somebody will be walking by, you see their ass. Like they're pushing the envelope more and more till there is no more network TV, right? Even on the cable channels like HBO. Remember when we were young, R-rated movies didn't come on until 8 o'clock,
Yeah.
right? Everything before that was PG or PG-13,
Okay,
right?
so all of that, right?
Mhm.
So what is that? Let's get off of black people per se. Let's just say, like, in general, like, do you feel like the progression on the radio, TVs, movies, like, is it a good thing that now things are so uncensored, or do you think it is causing more of a problem? Because yeah, it used to something would be beeped out, or you'd have to find another way to say it. Now it's just like
I think
go for
it's
what you
just
know.
I don't think it's good or bad. I think it's par for the time. The thing is you can't censor anything anymore because the internet exists, right? When we were young, we didn't have the internet. So yes, you can have
Mhm.
radio edits and you can play R-rated movies at a certain time. You can't do that anymore because kids can pick up their phone and see whatever they want at any time, you know, unedited. You know, when you can go, you can just look at, you can be sitting in class at school looking at porn, you know,
Mm,
if you're on your phone. So it's not you can't monitor the content because the world at large has been given access. You see what I'm saying? And so it's before when we were young, entertainment went inside out, right? From one source out to the world. Whereas
hmm.
now it comes from the world to your device.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So you can't control it. You know what I'm saying? So all you can do is really ride the wave. And you can say, oh, don't do this on the stage at Essence Fest, but I can just go to YouTube. I can go to your it's
Hmm.
still there, you know. So why are we hiding what we already know we do? You know, like, hey, we know it's there, but don't do it on this stage.
Hmm.
Why? What's the difference? If it's being like what's
Mm.
done in dark coming to light, like we don't want people to know that people actually do this if they're doing it at the club or whatever.
Well, back to black people, the answer is no. We don't want things that we do in our families to go outside the house. We don't. Yes, it's happening, but that's nobody's business.
Mhm.
So yeah, we know that twerking happens, but that needs to be in the backyard. That shouldn't be on the Essence stage. So I mean, to answer your question, it's
Man, look,
yes. And I mean, and some of it, I think, or I know, of course, is how we are treated as a result of. So I think it's more, or has been in some cases, protective, right? Like, don't wear your hair like that. Don't speak like that. Don't dress like that. Don't. Um, Thinking that that's going to keep us safe, or that's going to, keep certain things from happening. But yeah, black people are being
it
killed
don't
every day. We're still being discriminated against. We're still being called names. Like, none of these things that we've been told to do
are
have
stopping.
kept them from acting
Yeah.
a fool. Just last week, we had at least two Supreme Court rulings that, affect us. And so, yeah, it doesn't matter whether you
Or
twerk or
it
stand up
yeah,
straight.
it affects us, but also it perpetuates a false narrative, right? Like, oh, we're gonna affect black people and black people da 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 da. When white women were and always have been the largest recipients of affirmative action and welfare, for that matter. You see
Well,
what I'm
they're
saying?
gonna have a rude
So
awakening
yeah, but
at
all the
this
stuff
point.
they try to put on us, and a lot of it, it's a bigger political conversation as to why these things are happening, and it's going into the fact that white people are not having children and they are being eradicated as the majority in this country. And so, how can we affect other cultures so that we can stay in power? If minorities are continue to be educated and gainfully employed and in positions of power, we are going to be phased out because just demographically we're being phased out. You see what I'm
Mm.
saying? And
Hi.
by sheer numbers, they won't be able to stay in power. So it's kind of like if a lot of it has to do with affecting, for lack of a better term, the production of more minorities, right? And more
Mm-hmm.
strong families and more gainful employment and more home ownership. Like, how do we affect home ownership, which leads to a lot of wealth, right?
Mm.
If we can affect the education, right? So one, you're already doing that in elementary and secondary school, right? With redlining and gentrification and all this other stuff, and
Right.
you can't go to these schools and the resources. We've both worked at schools that don't have nothing, right? So the level of education is already affecting. them being able to get to college, but now they're getting to college. So it's like, damn, what do we do? Okay, let's put another barrier there, because, and then you go talking about affirmative action and all this other stuff when 43% of the student population at Harvard are legacy. Like, you're
Oh
not there
yeah.
by your own merit, you know, like, or you had the whole scandal at, sad to say, at USC with these celebrities, you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Like, come
Yeah,
on.
it's going to be a rude awakening. Generally, when you're trying to do something to keep someone else back, you're not thinking
Mhm.
about how it's going to also keep you back. But
But they don't care if they don't care how it affects white women,
that's what I'm
because
saying. I was like, yeah, they don't.
yeah, this is about white men,
Hmm.
right? Like, let's be
And as
clear.
soon as white, God bless, as soon as white women understand that, they might be free one day, because they keep trying to align themselves with these white men. And
Well, also black women aligning themselves with these white women causes, but then when it's a cause for black women, they disappear. So there's that.
yeah,
But that's a whole nother show.
yeah,
You know what I'm
and
saying?
we're going into election season. It's just a lot for us to need to be
Mhm.
aware of and govern ourselves accordingly, because I feel like we've been in a spin cycle since 2016, and I would
Yeah,
like for us
right.
to get out.
Yeah, but
So
if I got any message to black women specifically, because when we talking about twerking and everything else, this is who we're talking about. Do like, do I like seeing it all over the internet? Really? No. I'm like this. Like, you are more than your body and shaking it and for followers and likes and stuff like that. I'm not saying don't have a good time, but you are more than that. But on the flip side, it's like you can't always make decisions about what everybody thinks of you as well, even though
mhm.
it's hard, because for black women, a lot of your success is predicated on what people think of you. You know, black people in general, but black women specifically, I can't. It's easy. It's easier for me from this seat,
Mhm.
because while I have more to prove than a white person, I have less to prove than a black woman. So it's, uh, you know,
Mhm.
it, yeah, I don't know, but
Yeah, I'm mixed on it. And like I said, I'd rather take ownership for what I like, and curate what I want to see and what I want to be involved in, and leave whatever floats somebody else's boat to them. Because quite honestly, even in thinking about you know listening to Lil Kim back in the day, like I couldn't tell you exactly why that resonated with me, because I wasn't doing any of that. Like, I just realized, like, I was like, I like her.
because nobody was saying it,
And I think,
not
yeah,
in
I
hip
think that's
hop.
what it was just like, oh my gosh, right. And so if that is the feeling that, a young black girl or a young black woman gets with these images, or being a part of some of these things, great. I, was raised quite differently. Like, I just, at my big grown age, first of all, I just would never do it. But if for whatever reason I was drinking too many hurricanes down there in New Orleans, and wound up on the stage with my butt in the air, like, I feel like my mom and my grandma would meet me at the airport. Like,
Mhm.
it would just be a travesty. I'm more concerned about them than what anybody else in the whole world has to say about me.
Mhm.
Um, and so I see things through that particular lens. I'm always like,
Mhm.
oh my God, like, what if, my mom or my grandma was there? Like, I know that would be uncomfortable for them. But that doesn't mean that people have to live their lives under that same,
Mhm.
kind of feeling. I absolutely love the idea of being free from the expectations and um, the viewpoint and the parameters set by white people. I don't know what that feels like, but if this generation and those beyond can live in that kind of world, more power to you. Twerk, 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 twerk. Like anything to make them uncomfortable. As far as I'm concerned,
Oh yeah,
I'm with that,
right.
because they don't care about making us uncomfortable. They don't
Uncomfortable.
care about killing us. So
Yeah,
making
you
them
can.
uncomfortable is the least that we could do.
And I don't know what there's to be uncomfortable about when they fetishize us anyway. You see what I'm saying? So
So right, were they really uncomfortable? They might not have
no,
been uncomfortable. They might have
they
been doing
figuring
some
out
screen records.
they working on monetizing it like they do everything
Oh
else. You see what I'm
gosh.
saying? So it's like, oh, you don't be going to work with no cornrows and they hit your head, and then they marketing it like, oh, box braids. Like really?
I saw some poetic justice braids, some dookie braids. Yeah,
Yeah.
no.
Wait. What was it called? Dookie? No, that was box braids,
I think
right?
they were calling them box braids. I was
Box
like,
braids.
those are
We was
dookie
like,
braids.
them dookie braids. What you talking about?
Yeah,
So
I guess.
y'all, listen, we love y'all. We appreciate y'all. Yet another great live. We love spending time with y'all. Thanks for those that chimed in, our regulars, as always. And stay tuned. We will be announcing when season 2 is going to launch. Fun fact, we are actually in production right now for season 2 of our pre-recorded episodes, but we'll continue to bring y'all the lives and information and stay in connected with you. We will be dropping some things for to get input for our shows and our future shows. And if you have ideas, again, don't forget to send us an email at crossroadspodcast@gmail.com. But make sure, if you haven't yet, you're still on here. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. Y'all, please share this link, share the show for other people. Tell them to subscribe. We want to get to that 1,000 mark, but we're trying to get to 500 first. So the first goal is 500, and then we're going to shoot for 1,000. It just, the subscriptions really help us out, right? So we love y'all, we appreciate y'all, and until next time, always remember, be
Be
free
free
to
to
be you.
be you.
We
That
love
includes
y'all.
twerking. Bye.